So today we are talking about networking, random networking that you do at conferences, at a kid's birthday party, at a business dinner, at an organizational event. All of those things which for many of us over the last year have come to a grinding halt. So if we were even comfortable with them before the pandemic, we're now all a little bit more socially anxious. The reason I'm talking about this is because I've had a number of requests and this has come up recently in coaching sessions. And for those of you who are earlier on in your career, be reassured, this is a legitimate concern that some of my most senior executives have. They may be very comfortable in other social situations, but when it comes to the random conferences where they're on their own and they want to make an impression, but they look around them and they see a room full of other people who have already magically managed to find their groups and their conversations, they also feel anxious and they avoid those situations or they do things to avoid having to put themselves out there. So the first thing I want to say is that you're not alone, and now more than ever, we all have to refamiliarize ourselves with how we do that type of conference networking. That's how I'm going to describe it. I'm just going to give you 3 things to think about here that should help you with your personal networking style and feel more confident. The first thing is to recognize that these are not normal social events for us anymore. So when you have these random, unstructured, it could be a break in a conference, a 1-hour networking break, often labeled specifically as such. The first thing we need to do is say, look, these are not the kind of normal situations. We're all out here. We've had less practice at this. There's no structure. There's no queuing system if everybody wants to talk to a couple of people or somebody who's just given a keynote. So it really is up to you to make up your own rules. And for each of us, that's going to be different. Some of us want to have 2 or 3 really meaningful conversations, and that for us will be a win from our perspective. For others, they might be much more social butterflies and want to connect with lots of people. Everyone's going to be different depending on how introverted or extroverted you are. Those conversations are going to drain you more or they're going to energize you. And I think what's really important here is to recognize that you can make up your own rules here and you can make it work for you. The second thing that I wanted to say is another reason why these events can feel a bit odd is because unless we have a clear reason why we want to have these conversations, we can feel like we're just making small talk. So I really encourage you to harness whatever nerves that you have, and I know that these nerves can really be debilitating and they can eat people up inside, and afterwards, if they haven't done well on them, they can feel really disappointed. So harness that energy to look at the conference list or think about who's going to be there and think about what kind of things that you really would love to get out of networking. I mean, what is the point of networking after all? We don't just have to do it for the sake of it. There is a real reason to do it. It can enhance your wider peripheral networks. It might in the future lead to job opportunities. You may discover market insights about your industry because you only really get that from having those frank conversations rather than what you would read from those people on LinkedIn. But you've got to know that, because if you don't know that, then yeah, you are just going to be having sort of random and surface level conversations, which for a lot of us are not satisfactory or don't make us feel our best selves. So have a think about, if you miss that networking session, what would you miss out on? Is it the social connection? Is it opportunities? Is it insights? Think about what matters to you, and that can then guide the way that you and then the purpose behind networking for you. So that's my second tip. Know what the point is for you. So far we've discussed the fact that networking and random conference events are indeed random, and we can make up our own rules, and there is going to be some awkwardness, and we just need to acknowledge that. Number 2 is we've got to know why we're doing it, otherwise it's going to feel very surface level. And the third tip that I want to give you is focus on the process. So let's say we are talking about a business conference. Give yourself a little target and say, look, I'm going to approach 3 different people today. I don't mind how they respond to me. I'm not going to get unnerved if they seem a little bit like they don't really want to have a conversation. That's not the point. as I do more of these, I'm going to get a really nice mixed response, and I'm going to see that actually a lot of people are really pleased to have the conversation. And so we're focusing on a bit of a numbers game, and we're focusing on the process of approaching people and striking up conversation. Remember, you can always say things like, it's a bit awkward this, isn't it? Since the pandemic, you've got a lovely opener there. Or, gosh, not totally out of practice now about meeting new people. What about you? And you can actually harness whatever feelings that you have and use those as a way to personalize and position yourself in a way that feels really authentic and lays yourself vulnerable, but in a way that is actually really approachable and other people can probably relate to as well. So that's my final tip, is to focus on the process and give yourself that homework at each conference or each random event you're going to. I'm going to go and talk to these people. I'm going to try and have slightly longer conversations, and over time you'll build up that bank of experience, and you will start to override your current thinking loop, which is that this is a unsafe situation, a situation which you're not good at, and you will start to replace that with, no, I actually do this 3 times in every event. And you'll start to build up that bank of experience. You will start to get some positive outcomes from it, and that will motivate you. Don't get me wrong, you may well end up with some hostility, because as I've discussed with clients, you're not the only one feeling awkward. And when you come and talk to somebody else, and you might be a sensitive person, you pick up their nerves and the whole thing feels really awkward, that's not you, that's them. It's very easy to personalize these things, and it's a thinking trap, in fact, that we have from a psychological evolutionary perspective, that we can personalize what's going on. Actually, at that event, everyone's thinking about themselves. They probably all have a little bit of their own nerves, and you're not disrupting anything by asking politely if you can go and join that conversation. So I hope this has made you a little bit more excited to get out there and network and enjoy connecting with people in a way that feels authentic to you. Let me know if there are any related videos that you would like me to produce on this topic. And of course, let me know if you have any wins from your networking. Thanks for watching along. And if you want more of this type of content, please do head over to my website and click on the link to get your 5 free tips for how to get promoted without sacrificing your personal life. Thank you.